Alright, we are starting off our first lesson on Chapter 7. So we're actually jumping ahead to 7.2. We skipped 7.1. So go ahead to 7.2. You should be looking at page 195 in your journal. This whole chapter is about rational functions, which just means in all of the operations that you do, you're going to have an x in your denominator. So the first thing we're going to do is graph these guys. So that's all this first section is going to be about. It's just doing the graphs. So I want to look at the parent function on these guys. You can see it right here, but I want to show you the difference for the positives and the negatives. So anytime you graph just any number over x, we're going to get this guy. This is our parent function. You can see we have a vertical asymptote right here, running right through x equals 0. We have a horizontal asymptote running through y equals 0. So this is our parent function. All we're going to be doing to graph these guys is doing shifts away from our parent function. If you change the number on top, it still is going to look like that parent function. All it does is change the slope of the curve a little bit. So if I did 2 over x, I'll show you a few of these guys so you can see them. We could do 3 over x. I'll do 4 over x. So watch what happens as each one of these get graphed. All right, all it does is it pushes it away from the origin a little bit further with each one. So as far as your graphs are concerned, when you're graphing the parent function, don't worry too much about the number on top. We're just looking for kind of a rough sketch, one in that quadrant and one in that quadrant for these guys. The one thing that will matter is whether the top or the bottom is negative. So if you were to say negative 1 over x, let me show you how that would affect your graph. So here comes the first one. So the blue one is anytime your top number is positive. The red one is anytime your top number is negative. So whenever you see that negative on top, your parent function is going to go in quadrant 4 and 2. Instead of 1 and 3, like the blue ones. Okay, so again, be looking for that. That's kind of your first thing to check for is the sign, so that you can get a good sketch of your parent function. And then from there, we're just going to do some translating, just based on some of the rules that you guys have already seen a bunch of times. So I'm going to flip ahead a couple pages here to some of the ones that we need to practice. All right, so jump ahead in your journal to page 198. It's going to look like this. So here is the model that we're going to be looking at to do all of your translations for any of these graphs. So remember what we've talked about with these guys in the past. Anything that is attached to x is going to shift your graph left or right. Anything that is not attached to x, like that k value, is going to shift your graph up or down. Remember that for the x's, they're always doing the opposite of what you would see. So anytime you see a minus, it's going to shift you to the right. Anytime this is a plus, it's going to shift you to the left. Anytime this is positive, you're going to go up. And anytime this is negative, you would go down. So we're just doing those reflections based on the parent functions. So we're going to jump down to number 2 here. So every single one of these should start with a parent function graph. So let me just do this to get it started. So remember the parent function on these guys, if it's positive, is always going to look something like this. And anytime it's negative, like this one is going to cause it to go right here and right here. All right, so it's going to end up looking like the red one since our top number is negative for this guy. But for all of these, they do want you to start with this parent function. So you should start with the blue graph, and then you graph the final image, which would be that red graph that you see right there. And this one didn't have any shifting left or right or up or down because this is just x, and there's no number after it behind it here. So let me flip over to the next page so you can see a couple different ones. So these ones will have some shifting in them. So again, just want to start these guys with a parent function graph. So I'm going to start out with just as if I had 1 over x. And I guess I should have moved that down a little farther because I can see this one's going to go up 5 at the end. So that's okay. I might run out of room, but we'll deal with it anyway. So if I had my parent function, 1 over x, I know it looks like this. And so now I'm going to throw in the transformation. So remember what this is going to do to your graph. Because it's x minus 3, I know it's going to go to the right 3. And this guy at the end is going to cause it to go up 5. So don't forget on these guys too that you also had a vertical asymptote through x equals 0. You also have a horizontal asymptote through y equals 0. And those guys are going to shift as well. So I'm going to take this whole graph and I'm going to go right 3. So 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to go up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is where the new graph is going to go. So here is my vertical asymptote. Here is my horizontal. And so here goes the new graph. It's going to go right there. Sorry, I'm a little off my grid, but I got to make do with it. So, and right here would be the other part. So the blue graph is where it started. That's the parent function. The red graph is our graph. That's the graph we were actually trying to graph. So all we did again was take that blue graph. We went right 3 and up 5. And that's what created that red graph that you see. Let's try it on this one here. You know, for any of these, it's always good to, after we've done a couple, always good to try pausing the video and see if you can try this next one on your own here. So this will be the last one that we do. So we're keeping this first lesson pretty simple here. So again, I'm going to start by just graphing a parent function for this one. Keep in mind this is negative. So remember what we talked about with graphing a parent function when it's negative. Okay, and so I'm going to take this one and I'm going to start right here. So my parent function, because this is negative, is going to go right there and right there. So that's what we are starting with. Then I'm going to say, okay, well, there's nothing attached to x, so it's not going to go left or right. But what about this guy? What's that going to do to our graph? Right? So anything that's not attached to x, like this minus 4, remember, causes your graph to go up or down. This one is negative, so it's going to go down 4. So all we're going to do is take this blue graph and we're going to shift it down 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So here's my new horizontal asymptote. Is going to go right there. Now my graphs go here and here. So if you look, you're just seeing the blue graph. Everything in that blue graph is being moved down 4 spaces. And that's how we're getting the red graph. If you have access to a graphing calculator, it's awesome to use it. If you have access to Desmos, which all of you could look up Desmos if you haven't used that before, that's a good graphing tool as well. So you can always try using that. Those are super helpful when doing graphs. So it's great to plug these in and just check them. Just make sure we're doing things right. So I'm doing negative 3 over x and then minus 4. There we go, at the end. And so it should come out looking like my red graph that I have. I mean, it's blue, but you get the idea. It's still, everything had been shifted down 4 spaces. So it does take on this exact same location as those curves do right there. So we know we're in good shape. Actually, we can even do it this way. I'll do the parent function like I did the blue graph, and that one will be blue. So I'm going to do negative 1 over x would be my parent function. And now I'm going to put in the negative 3 over x minus 4. So now it'll look exactly like mine does. So the first one's going to come up blue. That was the parent function for a negative graph. And here comes the red one. So everything has now been shifted down 4. And so now we're getting that red graph. I'll take you down a little lower so you can get a better look. So there's our parent. And then here comes the red graph as everything went down 4. And again, notice you still have the horizontal asymptote right here, but it's now through -4. You still have your vertical asymptote right here through x equals 0. So those guys are still there. But that's it. So when you're doing graphs today, please do them like you're seeing them here. Graph the parent function first, then do the ending graph that you're seeing right here after it's been transformed. For these guys, again, don't forget that you always have access to worked out solutions on my website, so please take advantage of that. I really want you guys to be able to check answers and make sure you're doing things correct. So again, if you go to Pages and you go to the worked out solutions right here. So right now we're going to be in chapter 7, so all you would have to do is go to the chapter 7 worked out solutions. It just opens up as a PDF document. And you might even save it, or I don't know if you'd want to print it. It's maybe too many pages, but yeah, it's 50 pages, so you probably don't want to print that, but I would at least just maybe save it onto your computer, and that way it's just always there for you. So if you go down to 7.2, let me take you down to 7.2. So you're going to want to always go to the one that says exercises, and the page numbers should match the same page numbers that I'm assigning you. So I'm going to the 7.2 exercises. Again, check the page number, make sure it matches up with the page number of your assignment, and then you know you're in good shape. And so they're showing you really good stuff. You're going to see the parent function, you're going to see the table of values that they're coming up with, all that stuff. So this will be a real helpful tool to make sure you're doing things correct. And don't forget to submit your assignment by 8 p.m. through the Dropbox, and you got to be logged into the website in order to do that. And that's it. So talk to you guys soon.